when you are in a crisis, the most important thing is to get the communication going. People
Yeah.
want feedback. They were scared. They need to know what are you doing, where is it going, what is your game plan, how
Yeah.
are they going to taken care of. So that communication was not there in the company.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the WBS Podcast. I'm Sam Gupta, your host and principal consultant at digital transformation consulting firm Elevate IQ. What helps you compete in the market? Is it your unique product? Is it your operational efficiency? Is it your market segment? Or is it the alignment of your manufacturing and operational strategies with market needs and business goals? Since most manufacturers are part of a large process for their customers, simply thinking about your product's value prop may not be enough. You need to think about the entire value chain, how your products fit in that, and the implications and benefits it may have on the end goal of your customer. In today's episode, we have our guest, Kishore Khaitan, who discusses how to align manufacturing strategies with business goals. He also provided key insights into his different businesses and how he could turn them around despite unfavorable circumstances. Finally, he discussed the manufacturing processes and market nuances of several manufacturing verticals, including industrial fabrics, paper plants, and textile parts. Let me introduce Kishore to you. Kishore Khaitan is an entrepreneur in textile engineering and smart energy metering. He has turned around 3 family businesses that focused on manufacturing engineered products. He's an expert in fiber-friendly spinning, manufacturing, product design, company turnarounds, strategic planning, and financial analysis. With that, let's get to the conversation. Hey Kishore, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sam. I'm glad to be here.
Of course, my pleasure. And just to kick things off, do you want to start with your personal story and your current focus?
Absolutely, that I can do. So, I kind of got inducted into my family business quite early when I was in college, when I was just about 19 years old, and I started to attend to my factory in family business factory in Kolkata. While I was doing my college, and there we had some problems related to the production. The production was not smooth, so we were losing a lot of orders, and we were not producing enough to make enough money. So that was a good experience for me during my college days, that I was able to streamline the production and focus on the planning and productivity. And soon we were making enough production to start making money and build the business. So that was very good. So when I went over to do my MBA in the US, that practical experience kind of helped me a lot. And then I had to kind of speed up my education and finish it, and then rush back to India to attend to our other family business, which was in Jaipur, which was making industrial fabrics. And there my elder brother was running the show, and he was facing a lot of problems. They had just done a major expansion, and they were not able to stabilize the technology and the process. As a result, there was a lot of debt burden, and the industry was facing a recession. So there was a lot of unsold stock and a working capital crunch. And even there was a labor problem where half the laborers were on strike and half were staying in the factory and trying to run the production. So everything was going haywire, and even the bank had given a notice for foreclosure. So I kind of came in as a fresh graduate into that, and then I had to do so many things to set things right, besides tackling the labor issue, like trying to stabilize the technology and trying to reduce the cost of production by going into developing, the raw material from an earlier stage rather than buying finished raw material. And so those kind of things like kind of helped, and we came out of that in about 1.5 years time. But then there were kind of some personality issues between me and my brother, so I kind of had an amicable understanding. Then we started a new venture in Calcutta again to build machinery for paper plants. So that kicked off well, but due to the family tensions and problems and some other complications, we ultimately the project kind of suffered, and I had to part ways from the family, and had to close down that business.
Okay.
So then basically I had this other business, which was a small business at that time in Jaipur, which currently I am now running. That was making some spares for the textile industry. And so I started full-time focus there, but it was a really small business, and I was not really, kind of, you can say, mentally attuned to attend to such a small business and its pressures. But still, that's all I had at that moment to kind of fall back on. So I kind of started working on the business, focusing on the process, quality, and everything. But since being a small business, it was having very easy barriers, virtually no barriers to entry. So what happened? One of our competitors, he kind of took some key people away and copied the technology and reduced the prices, and took away much of the market. So that was kind of a big shock. So then we kind of put our heads together and developed better products, and developed new markets, and kind of the company sprang back. And 5 years down the road, the same thing repeated itself again. So then I had to kind of do some kind of a rethinking when it happened for a third time. Then we had to reorient our strategy. So then we tied up with a US company to make some advanced components for the textile industry with all CNC machines and everything. And then we went in a big way to take up that market. But there we had some kind of a problem in the sense that there was one company from China who was kind of again competing based on low prices, and they were a subsidiary of an old UK company which was kind of known in the market. So they had a brand value, plus they had low prices, and they also set up a manufacturing facility in Bangalore. So they gave us a pretty hard time for about 2-3 years. And that's when I think, we kind of, refocused ourselves and looked at the strategic angle. And then we kind of leveraged our strengths to, number one, reduce our prices, go for big customers like original equipment manufacturers and the big industrial customers. And we focused on better quality and better service, and solving problems for the customers. So ultimately, that Chinese company who was working on the low price model ultimately closed down, and now we are having even in the COVID period, we were able to increase our turnover by 50% and profitability almost 5 times. So that was kind of a vindication that our strategy was finally working well. Coming to your second question about the current focus, what we have kind of realized down the line, like, I've, kind of was having due to this problem I mentioned, we were having a stagnating turnover for about 4 years from 2013 to almost 17. And that period, I had done a lot of soul searching, lot of self-study, attended a lot of seminars, worked on a lot of strategic this thing. And what we came out with is that the best way to, gain loyalty of the customer and your competitive advantage is to not focus on your products, but focus on resolving the pain points of the customers. So we started packaging our systems more on providing our customers with complete solutions rather than just providing a product. And that was something that we could do because we had, so many years of experience and relationship, and our technical tie-up was there with the US company. So I think all that has really helped us. And what has also really helped is we were able to reduce our prices. At the same time, we were able to reduce our costs. And
Yeah.
because we did a lot of streamlining of our production, so without increasing our physical capacity too much, we were able to increase our production capacity. And that really increased our output and also spread our overhead over a larger base. So our profit margins were kind of protected while we were able to offer a very, very competitive price to the customer. So it became a combination of a better solution, lower prices, and a very high quality product. So we kind of became almost like an unbeatable proposition. So going forward, we want to take this one step higher, where we want to take over the contract for maintenance of the client's machinery as a whole, rather than
Yeah.
just supplying them a solution.
Yeah.
So the value for the client is that he gets an expert service to maintain his machines to the updated level, to the perfect condition, as good as a new machine, while
Yeah.
not increasing his costs. And we get the advantage of not only selling our product, but selling all the products that go into that machine's maintenance. So to give you a perspective, almost 1% of the any spinning mill's production cost is into spares and accessories.
Yeah.
Out of that 1%, almost 4% is what is required for our products, and that is
Yeah.
when you do it well. Some people will do less and spoil the machine. Some people will invest more because they don't have proper maintenance practices. We are not talking
Yeah.
of that. So I have a potential of increasing my business with a client who is loyal to me from 4% to 100%. Of course, it requires a lot of capacity building because, taking a kind of a MRO contract is very different from supplying equipment and services.
Yeah.
So, but we are trying to do that. I'm trying to get an expert team around and try to mobilize. We already have a couple of customers interested, and we are also going to do this abroad also. So, we are going in that way, and I think the strategy is working out. So I see when I compare with the scenario where we were not able to grow, today I'm seeing limitless potential, and that's a great change, I would say.
Yeah, so there are a lot of nuggets of wisdom there, and I want to make sure that we touch on a lot of that. You mentioned your diverse experience overall in doing different manufacturing, so I would love to dig into that. And then you mentioned some of the improvements that you have done more from the supply chain perspective, where simply because of the supply chain, you were able to reduce the cost and you were able to gain some of the efficiencies. Then you were talking about some of the global issues that we typically don't see in the domestic production. So that is very unique insight that I have not heard from other guests. And then obviously your results and the time. So we are going to dig into all of that. But before that, we have one of the standard questions, and that is going to be your perspective on growth. When you think of business growth, what does it mean to you, Kishore?
Well, I think if you don't grow, you die. It's as simple as that. And
Yeah.
we have faced this because, as I said, for 4 years we were not growing. And when your top line doesn't grow, so many ramifications are there. Your costs are growing. Your people get frustrated because they can't grow. You get a negative brand image in the market. You are not in the right frame of mind to think progressively, and you feel very vulnerable that anybody can just push you aside and surge ahead. So, the world is changing very fast. You need to keep investing in updation of technology. You need to come up with new products. You need to develop your processes. You need to develop your people to
Yeah.
keep them loyal. You need to ensure them career growth within your organization. And most importantly, you need to be updated and contemporary in the eyes of your customer with coming out something which is cutting edge and lead as a leader in the market. So growth is a no question, no brainer. One has to either grow, or in today's age, he can die much faster than what he would anticipate.
Yeah, exactly. I think some great insights there. So now let's move to your experience, and I want to make sure that we have enough time for your real manufacturing experience, because that's your core, and we can learn so much from you, right? So okay, so when you were working in these different manufacturing scenarios, and in my opinion, I think they are very different overall from the manufacturing process, the way the products
Absolutely.
are, especially when you are talking about the industrial fabric, is completely different from building the machinery parts for a textile machine. I mean, that's a completely different production, right? Completely
Exactly.
different, parts, the way the production is going to be, the kind of, quality you are going to need in all of those industries is going to be different. So just to sort of count the different industries or different manufacturing processes that you have worked on. So number one, you have done the industrial fabrics, you have done machinery parts, and paper plans. So I think the paper plans, and I don't know if the paper plans parts are going to be similar to your textile parts. Okay, so talk about the manufacturing process, and take everything from your the way the products are products actually move through your production cycle. Also talk about the R&D aspect, if there is going to be any sort of R&D aspect, if there is going to be any customer validation that need to be involved in the R&D process, if there are going to be different versions. So talk about the entire cycle of each of those manufacturing processes, if you could, the differences, the challenges that you have in all of them.
Yeah, so let me go to the fabrics part. Like, in
Okay.
the industrial fabrics, there were two type of fabric. One was a metallic fabric and one was a synthetic fabric.
Okay.
And in the metallic fabric, we were having to import the wire from abroad, from Germany basically, and I think from France.
Yeah.
And that time, the rupee had suddenly devalued, and that was again a time when the import controls were very much there.
Yeah.
So, so you could only import certain things only against exports. So, like what then we did, we had imported a wire drawing plant where we could buy a wire rod much cheaper from abroad as well as locally. And
Yeah.
then compared to our specific high standard requirements, we could produce that wire in our own plant. But very funnily enough, that plant was lying unused. And because the people were resisting that this is such a sensitive raw material, we can't afford to make it ourselves, like we will lose face in the market. So the plant was lying unused, and we had this problem of not able to source the imported thing because it was number one, too costly, and number two, we didn't have much money.
Yeah.
So what I did was, number one, I developed this local supplier. Over 6 months it took us to develop the local supplier, and we also geared up our local plant to make it suitable to make the quality that is going to be used by our own weaving department.
Yeah.
So, that was also a cultural issue where I had to sit with the weaving department people and tell them, look here, the company is in dire straits. We do not have money. You have to cooperate. You have to give feedback. We have to make it a success. Don't
Yeah.
say, I can't use this. You have to find a way to make it success. And I don't want to compromise on quality. You do your complaints, but sit together with the wire drawing people and get this done. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that one thing happened, helped us in three ways. Number one, we were able to import duty free the wire rods, which were much cheaper. So we could import much more wire rods for the same value. Number two, it helped us in the inventory because we were able to produce in house what was immediately required by our production.
Yeah.
And number three, it saved us in cost because we could save nearly 30 to 40% of the total cost in the manufacturing. So that kind of tremendously helped in the turnaround. We could also recycle a lot of unused inventory,
Yeah.
and we were able to kind of tide over the working capital shortage. The other thing what I did was I kind of put my head with the technical service department and the production department to get the new machinery going, because
Yeah.
if the new project which we had, the company had invested almost more than what the company's turnover was. So you can imagine the level of financial burden it was kind of carrying. So it was very critical for us to make that new project a success. So sometimes I used to spend 12 hours sitting in front of the machine with all the
Yeah.
technicians, trying everything and trying to see that every day is important, nothing is lost out, no communication gap is there, and kind of had the technical service team give us prompt feedback on whatever new variants we were developing. And yet again, in another 6 to 7 months, we kind of stabilized that also. So the third thing what I did was that the financial management was very, very poor. And
Okay.
even though we had a VP finance who was a gold medalist chartered accountant, but he was not doing his job. So, we had to just fire him, and then I instituted some practices for proper working capital management, inventory control, and
Yeah.
ordering. So, like for example, there were some million or dollars or worth of letter of credits that were already lying pending, and we did not have the, even this thing to pay for our this thing. So the first thing I did is request the suppliers to allow us to postpone the letter of credits rather
Yeah.
than supplying the material against them. So that kind of helped us in waving off financial crisis which would have certainly killed the company. So, and plus just the human part, trying to get the communication. When you are in a crisis, the most important thing is to get the communication going. People
Yeah.
want feedback. They are scared. They need to know what are you doing, where is it going, what is your game plan,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
are they going to taken care of. So that communication was not there in the company. So I focused on communicating at all levels and ensuring that everybody is on board and everybody has a clear picture of where we are going, and even small wins we used to celebrate. So all these things taken together, we could turn around in about 18 months. Now coming back to the machinery thing, of
Yeah.
course machinery is a total project nature of business. It's a
Yeah.
different scale, different marketing, different this thing. So we took a very highly skilled team. Like there were people from big companies who were handling projects. We took the engineering people, marketing people, production people, all from big companies. We tied them all to a team. We were fortunate enough to get a very big contract from a multinational corporation in India. That was the biggest contract for paper plant machinery into liquidation. Then the liberalization came around that time in 1992. So suddenly second-hand imported machines, were being able to import freely, very cheaply. So all these things happened together, and it kind of struck our company very bad. And that time only, like I decided to become financially independent and exit away from the joint family business. So all these things kind of came together, and it was a very emotional decision for me to shut down the company, because at one time we had almost 7-8 million worth dollars worth of orders, but all
Yeah.
those orders we had to give away because we started having banking problems due to the family issues. So I had to shut down that company, and that was kind of a big emotional setback for me as well. Now coming to this company, which I am, now just described, which is making, this critical spares for textile spinning and recycling industry.
Yeah.
Here we kind of, we make needles, and then we make several products where these needles are also fitted and go
Yeah.
readily into the machines. So these are very critical because they interact directly with the fiber, and if the needles are not okay or if the part is not okay, it will immediately, damage the production of the client.
Yeah.
So, and this was a very small company, so you cannot expect it to have very professional quality system or very highly qualified professionals. You
Yeah.
didn't have the machinery were relatively old, and we didn't have the wherewithal in terms of monetary capacity to invest in very high tech technology or people, and still we had to produce the quality that the customer demands.
Yeah.
So the only positive side here was that the workforce was very highly skilled and they were very dedicated.
Okay.
And we had just updated our technology by going to a German company whom we knew from some years, and we got some updation of our technology of manufacturing needles in a better way.
Yeah.
So we did that, and we ramped up the thing. And when we started getting momentum, I said that the people were just taken away by my competitors. So that was a big shock. So then we thought that okay, just doing needles may not be the whole thing. Now we have to make products which use these needles. So we
Yeah.
upgraded ourselves to do that, built up the marketing for that. That required a lot of innovation and market development and other things in the process. So that was kind of a hard learning, but still we did that. Uh, and when we got traction on that and started building a business in that, again the same thing repeated. The fellow came in, took some key people away, copied the machinery, reduced
Yeah.
the prices, and kind of again took away the business. So then let me come now straight to this period when we were stalling in terms of our turnover.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so there the plus was that we were having a very high quality product. our service was appreciated. We were as a brand, we were kind of doing okay. But where we were falling short was that our prices were very high. And
Yeah.
although there was a value for the customer, he was just not ready to pay that much of a price, because he says that if your price is not much different from the original machine manufacturer's price, why should
Yeah.
I buy from you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And also we had realized, based on our past experience, that since we are a small company, our high price is actually attracting and making it easier for our competition to break into our market.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, now we are going to change our strategy. We are going to reduce our price. And to reduce our price, we need to do two things. One is that since we are making a high quality product, we cannot really cut our overheads, because we need that managerial infrastructure to really make a quality product, right?
Yeah.
So what we did that, okay, if we spread the same overhead into a 4 times larger production, my overhead cost per product will become 25% of what it is today.
Yeah.
And that amount of price reduction, if I give to the customer, actually I'm giving away nothing, because I'm protecting my margin.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that is one thing what I did. And then what we did is that we streamlined our production. Since the production is done in 4 or 5 steps, every step of the way we saw that where is the bottleneck, we tried to remove that bottleneck either by putting in balancing equipment, or updating the technology, or changing the process to reduce the time.
Okay.
So that way we almost increase our production almost by 2.5 times. So what that did was, see, you cannot increase production unless you make your quality systems very robust.
Yeah.
So during that process, not only did we increase our production, we also were able to improve our quality.
Yeah.
And make our quality very, robust and kind of fail-proof. So, now we got into a position where our quality was better than before, our costs were less, our delivery times were shorter, and our prices were less. So we suddenly became a much higher value proposition than we were. And we were able to, get into the high volume market, like the original equipment manufacturer. We started supplying to them. Then we started supplying to big customers who negotiate very hard. And we also took a couple of dealers abroad who earlier we were not tapping due to our price barrier. Then we kind of met this price barrier, and then we said, okay, at this price now we have to make the margin. How do we reduce our costs? So given that pressure of reduction in cost, translated into a sense of urgency, which made us achieve that target much faster than we would otherwise have. So that is where, I would say the most important thing for any manufacturing organization is not their production efficiency, not their quality, not their unique product design, not their market segmentation, but a strategy which aligns their operations to their marketing strategy. That's very, very important. So if we had not, changed our strategy from a high-priced exclusive manufacturer to a mass production and low price but high-quality manufacturer, we would always have tripped and fallen on our way.
I'm probably going to have a lot of follow-ups because there is just so much insight bundled up, and I want to make sure that we are able to grasp all of that insight. So obviously, market strategy makes sense overall, that the production needs to be aligned and customers need to really understand the value that you are providing, as opposed to simply being sort of the part pusher. You want to make sure that you are selling far more value, and that's how you need to align the market strategy. So let's I want to take 2 or 3 different paths here, a couple of clarifications or the digging that we can do in a lot of different areas. But one of the things that you mentioned about market strategy, so obviously the market strategy is going to be entirely different from your industry 1 to industry 2 to industry 3. And each time when you move from industry 1 to industry 2 to industry 3, you are going to be slightly premeditated, because you understood, let's say, the industrial fabrics market. You knew that, okay, this is how the customer channels work, this is how customer groups work. This is how they talk. This is the kind of messaging they understand. But now you are coming to your the paper mill parts. If you come in that industry, now this industry is going to function very differently. Everything from your sales process to your production processes probably going to be very different, right? And each of those are going to have some sort of impact either on your quality or the production process or the way customers are going to negotiate with you, right? So market strategy is completely different from the industry to industry. So let's say when you were on the industry one, okay, now when you were on the industry one and when you were trying to move to industry two, did you have any sort of learnings based on your market strategy experience that were eye opening for you, and the same approach that we need to take from your industry to industry three? And if you made any mistakes overall in understanding the market, you made some decisions based on your existing market, and you were like, no, I get this market because I've done manufacturing, I know this industry, right? But then all of a sudden you come to your paper industry and you're like, oh my goodness, this is so different. Okay, whatever the way I had designed my process, now they are not working in the industry because these customers either speak a different language or they just don't understand what I'm speaking about. So do you have any of those experience when you moved from your industrial fabrics industry to your paper industry?
Well, couple of thoughts here. First of all, the industrial fabrics industry was largely supplying to the paper industry.
Yes.
That's how we got into the paper machinery business.
Okay.
Because we thought our relationships and our understanding of the paper industry will help in this business.
Okay.
And also we had a foreign technical cooperation where we had licensed the technology, and then we had taken some senior professionals who were selling paper machinery, so they knew the business in terms of designing and supplying and marketing the machinery. So when I was in the industrial fabrics business and working with my brother was actually handling the marketing. So although I was interacting with the marketing people, I was not directly involved in the marketing per se.
Yeah.
Because that was a turf which my brother wanted to protect for himself, and he was not allowing me to enter that.
Yeah.
So I just went more, you can say, with the misconception that the goodwill of my existing business will help in the new business, whereas it was not really that much true. So that was a learning for me that, if you are having the same customer, but if you are selling a different product, your marketing has to be different. It cannot be the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Because selling machinery is very different from selling a consumable industrial fabric. The stakes are bigger, the challenges are bigger, the marketing is different, the conceptualization is different, and the customer targeting your customers is also different. So that was one thing. But we did learn our way. One mistake that I did in marketing in the industrial machinery business was that we did not focus as much on selling spare parts as we were focusing on the projects. So because our general manager, who was head of marketing, he was overconfident of himself, and he said that I will keep getting projects and we have no time and this thing for the spare parts, because the spare parts anyway are not going to contribute too much for our turnover.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was a mistake on listening to him, because later on when we fell into this bad situation because of so many unfortunate factors, had we developed a very strong spare parts business, I think we could have sailed through. So that was a big learning, but that was too late. So that was that. And I think the marketing mistakes that I did in the machinery business kind of helped me when I came into this business, because this business again was kind of new to me, because we had a manager who was managing and it was a small business. So we were not in touch with the customers. Things were just going well, but things just changed when the industry's technology changed and the environment changed. Suddenly the requirement was for a very high level of quality and a different design of product. So, and that time only I had to just come in, because I had no work other than coming into this business. So I kind of had to spend my full time here, and there was a cultural disconnect with my manager, so I had to fire him. So I had to start from ground zero in terms of building the market again. So the first thing I did is understand the market, the customer, his requirement, where exactly our product is falling short, what is the best in the market, try to benchmark with that, and then slowly build up the customer base based on that by by enabling our production to meet the market requirement. So that was that. And selling spare parts is very different than selling machinery or selling a very essential consumable, because
Yeah.
our product was different than selling industrial fabrics, because the industrial fabrics was a very key component which one had to put to run the machine, and once it is bad you can't even run the machine for a day, so you
Yeah. Yeah.
compulsorily had to replace it.
Yeah.
Then selling machinery is something that is a long-term process. You take 1 or 1.5 years
Yeah.
prospecting the customer, and still you may lose the order.
Yep. Yep.
And selling these these textile machinery parts is totally different, because here this is an expensive part and a longer life part.
Yeah.
So people don't have that sense of urgency,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's almost like caring for your health. Like you think, "Well, if I don't do morning walk for 2 days, what does it affect? I'm doing it regularly, you know
I
so
know.
they don't have urgency. They think I can replace it after 3 months. What is happening? Let me first attend to the other thing which is a problem. And they
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
realize that they are actually losing much more by delaying than they would be by spending on time. So
Yep.
that education was, kind of a challenge, and that requires a totally different skill than selling products. There you have to understand the user psyche. You have to understand his process as well as he understands it. You have to go into the nuances of his process, his problems, his pain points, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you have to also have the skill to resolve those pain points, because you have to prove to him whatever you are saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And there also you have to prove your point when you are not really managing his business. To go to a plant which somebody else is managing and trying to prove yourself is very, very challenging, because you have to convince the people who are in charge of that to do what you're saying, and he has no obligation to listen to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a very, very difficult situation. And one insight that I got, which was very interesting, which I want to share with you in this marketing, is that we were trying to first focus on the advantages of our product itself, and particularly relating to that machine itself.
Yeah.
See, this machine is doing X. When you if you use our product of this design, it will do X plus 2, for
Yeah.
example. Now, X plus 2 that didn't sound too interesting for him, because X plus 2 is only one part of the chain of alphabets that he is managing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He's interested in his end result. He says, what is X plus 2 going to make a difference in my overall thing? There are too many
Exactly.
variables.
Yeah.
Even if you make this improvement, I cannot measure the benefit of the improvement in the end result.
Exactly.
So then we thought this now is becoming a very different situation. So then what we did, we kind of pivoted the whole thing to addressing their main pain points. See,
Yeah.
you want to reduce your process waste. You
Yeah.
want to increase your production. You want to get more consistency in your quality and avoid rejects.
Yeah.
To achieve this, you need to do this, because this is going to give you an intermediary product in the process very, very consistently, which is going to achieve all three things. And if you
Yeah.
achieve all these three things, this is the effect it is going to make in your business. So
Yeah.
then we were able to convince him, and then we said, okay, if we are not able to achieve this, you give us this project, we will handle the whole line, we will show it to you. If it is not achieving, we will take our product back and refund your money. So that changed whole marketing approach has
Yeah.
given tremendous benefit, because that achieved three things. One is, if I sell him the ultimate result, I am
Yeah.
already selling my material, and I'm
Yeah.
selling more material than I would have done by doing a unit sale.
Yeah.
Number two, my capability in terms of the brand value to the customer becomes much, much higher. And
Yeah.
number three, I distance myself from the competition, because they don't have the capability to do this.
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, that's a powerful insight. A lot more I'm seeing this trend, especially on the smaller company side, right? I mean, the best way to compete with the larger OEMs, because if you're simply competing based on just your product or offering, sometimes it could be harder, especially in the manufacturing business, because you are probably not going to have the economies of scale that these larger companies are going to have. So the
Yeah,
best way to
at the same time, even though you don't have economies of scale, the standards on which you are measured are absolutely as high as any big company. Cannot afford to fail. I'll give you a very interesting episode. We had a big client in Southeast Asia, whom
yeah.
we had, secured an order to, supply them some units for trial. And if that trial was successful, we would be getting, 20 times that order value every year from that client. So that was a really valuable thing. And based on that, we would have expanded to so many other big customers in the market. Now, what happened? Unfortunately, my fitter did a wrong assembly of putting one shaft in the opposite direction before supplying the material. A very small error, you can say, but that cost us not only the client, but we also lost the agent in the process, and we were out of that particular country's market for 5 years. So I always tell my people that, like, we used to boast ourselves that we had an only 2% defect rate or complaint rate from our customers.
Yeah.
And that 2% has cost me almost, let's say, almost 50% of our turnover in terms of what we could have achieved otherwise. So I always tell my people that, even 2% is unaffordable, because that could lead to 50% loss of business. So right now we have tightened our processes so much that our internal reject and rework rate is only 0.6%. And out of that 0.6%, let's say 0.06% or 0.1% might be going up to the customer stage. And that also we ensure that it never gets repeated. So that's the level we have now reached, and still we are not happy with this, because even that is embarrassing, and that is also leading to a lot of pain in handling the customer. So what I'm trying to say, even though we are small in size, the deliverables are not small, they are daunting, and they are high standard. So one advice I can give to all small manufacturers is always try to tie yourself with a big machine manufacturer or become an ancillary to a big company, because not only will that pressurize you to become cost effective and efficient, it will also teach you so many things in terms of systems and practices, which and hold you to the highest standards, so that you can gear up to match anybody in the world.
Yeah, completely agree. I think, and by the way, MEC, one of the things that I would like to add there is, when you are aligning yourself with these bigger players, then you are also capitalizing on their marketing presence, their brand presence. So on that note, we are about time right now. So I don't know if you have any last minute closing thoughts by any chance, Kishore?
Yeah, one of the thoughts I've already shared with you. The other thought I will share is somebody, told me, and which has kind of made a profound impact on my life. Is that the potential of any business is limited not by the circumstances and the business environment it operates in, but it is limited by the limiting beliefs of the owner. What I mean by this is that no business can grow beyond what its owner or CEO can imagine its potential to be. So it is very important for every entrepreneur to look inwards, to see what are his aspirations, what is the potential of the business, and think out of the box, aim high, be aspirational, and set up lofty goals without even knowing how you are going to get there. Because unless you dream big, you cannot achieve big.
Yeah, I completely agree. And my personal takeaway from this conversation is going to be, as you mentioned about your takeaway, that the limiting belief of the leader is obviously going to be one of the biggest limitation, because they are sort of gating the process overall in communicating that vision, setting the goals. So if the CEO or the leader is going to be limited overall, the organization is going to be limited. On that note, Kishore, I really want to thank you for your time. This has been very insightful episode, and I personally learned so much from this conversation. Again, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, Sam.
I cannot thank our guests enough for coming on the show, for sharing their knowledge and journey. I always pick up learnings from our guests, and hopefully you learned something new today. If you want to learn more about Kishore, head over to baftech.com. It's BAFTEK.com. Links and more information will also be available in the show notes. If anything in this podcast resonated with you and your business, you might want to check other related episodes, including the interview with Hall Van Meter, who discusses how machine shops can use their business processes as a sales tool in their sales and marketing collateral. Also, the interview with Paul Serafino, who discusses how manufacturers and distributors can get through vendor consolidation situations by their key customers. Also, don't forget to subscribe and spread the word among folks with similar backgrounds. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please review and rate us on your favorite podcasting platform or DM me on any social channels. I'll try my best to respond personally and make sure you get help. Thank you, and I hope to catch you on the next episode of the WBS Podcast.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.